Hello viewers, just wanted to do a quick video on my thoughts on the Iran situation that's going on, its impact on the US and how we should handle it. And I'll probably talk about a little bit about Ukraine in the end. I'm going to start by going over the two stories that each of the main big nodes, the Republican and Democratic Party, are telling to gather support for their side. To the Democrats, they want this war to end because we came in without no plan, allegedly. There's no clear mission statement. It's coming at the expense of our wallet and lives of our servicemen. Those are the three main points on the left. And then on the right is we have to do this war because the Iranian people are being oppressed. 80+% of them disapprove of their current regime. And we have a moral duty, the way to help upcoming democracies, potential democracies, especially ones in tactical regions like Iran is, that we're learning how important it is because of that Strait of Hormuz thing. Iran is a direct threat to us and our allies in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia and Israel. We'll get into the rest later. And now I want to give the middle bipartisan thing that I have in my heart. I think that the right is right, that the U.S. owes developing democracies around the world a bit of help in getting over oppressive regimes, especially in areas like Iran, where they have a 90 million population that has potential to disrupt global trade, because the soft power that the U.S. has, the U.S. dollar having such a good exchange rate all over the world, comes from the semi-soft power, I should say, comes from how the promise of a free beacon where there's a country with 300 million people who are mostly have the right to go about their day, can travel within their own borders, unlike China and Russia, and they are a military global superpower that can provide a shield. And this is not the same as being the world police like we tried to do for the past 100 years, because I think we learned that that's kind of hard and impossible and leads to forever wars. We need to make a coalition of like NATO. I think Trump is trying to work something like that out with his new peace thing. I'm not a Trump fan. I'm just saying I think that's what the mindset is there. And I think the left has to wake up a little bit and not buy into the whole American isolationism thing, which is a stupid and outdated idea to have in a global economy, because all of our iPhones come from cobalt from foreign countries. The neon gas required to process and the semiconductor factories to build the chips that are vital for our race to dominate AI, so that a power like Russia or China doesn't have the ability to send agents out to have their one-story state dominating the globe, leading to more oppressive regimes and people that are up for exploit. That's just American isolationism is a campaign slogan that's good for getting people emotional and being like, yeah, we should go back to 1950s style, or wherever American nationalism started out. I forget the exact what I learned in the textbooks. But you get the picture. The U.S. economy as is, and how it kind of will be, because a lot of these resources aren't available within our continent. Though I do approve of Trump's wanting to mine within the U.S. to kind of make us less reliant on the outside stuff for when situations do come like this, and what he's doing in Venezuela, so that we can get more oil pipeline that's in our hemisphere, so that we're resilient to a bit of the outside noise that's going on. In the future, we won't feel the price at the pump jolt up because of Middle East situations. Though again, like I said, I think spreading secular democracy is solely in our benefit because it gives us more soft power. Americans do not nearly think about or recognize soft power as a legitimate thing, because we're not a country like France or Japan, where we have small populations that are surrounded by threats like Russia and China to their idea to tell more than one story states. And I'm not saying the U.S. is perfect. If here's what I think Trump should do to get the United States and then the world to support our efforts in Iran. I think Trump needs to call an immediate press conference like he did like a couple weeks ago when the poll numbers were going down, or like that might have been a month or two ago when his poll numbers were down, and he just said a bunch of lies about the economy to boost himself up. He needs to do another one of those, but where he gives a clear mission statement so that the Dems don't have that way to attack him, and that mission statement would be Iran is an oppressive regime, and besides and people who don't buy that card, they're a logistically very important part of the world, and having them as an ally with a government that's friendly towards us is solely to our benefit and keeps the US dollar the dominant global currency. And in this press conference, he should do what he's already done, which I thought a couple days before he did it, but reach out to countries like China and France and Japan to be like, we need some material support in our efforts in opening up the Straits of Hormuz. Though it's harder to sell China on that now because Iran is offering them a deal where we'll give you guys oil, we'll open up some routes for you guys. So the lines are being drawn in some scary places that I'm telling you, you want the U.S. to be the leader of. You don't want the whatever China's currency to be the dominant forces, because then you'll see more oppressive regimes take power and form in places where you thought impossible, and in places like Africa. And how we'd handle this at the UN summits is that China and Russia will try to attack on the points of the US is facing instability. Look, ICE is killing its own citizens and stuff like that. And that's when we look at China and Russia and be like, really? Your country doesn't have the freedoms we do. And there are going to be a lot of bots, like actual bots, because those are a lot of the comments that you see in Twitter conversations and YouTube comments. They're bots now because propaganda and pointing people in directions makes them feel hopeless, and foreign actors know this. But we need to handle the conversation with levity in these UN meetings. I see the way the Russian and Chinese diplomats talk. It's literally like over the table, looking over their glasses and being like, U.S., you're being hypocritical to your values. And we just have to meet it with some, hey, listen, man, our people we have our problems like the crony capitalism and the healthcare system and yes, ICE, but your people, we can't even poll them on stuff like that because you guys are a one-story state as opposed to the U.S., which is a two-story state, which is language borrowed from the Clear Pill by Curtis Yarvin. I'm using that language because he helped me inspire my Racism Cheat Codes essay, which is going to go on this channel pretty soon, piece by piece. And now I think I've covered that and talked about that enough and got my signal out that I wanted to get. Now we're going to move to the Ukraine-Russia situation. There have been some interesting advancements where, I'll leave this after the video, where Ukraine has pushed back some Russian forces at key points. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I remember the exact Ukrainian cities, but you know if you're in the know, you know where the front of the battle is. They're pushing them back. It's a battle of inches for territory. That's what the war has been for 4 years at this point. But I should mention that war affects global food supply chains. Maybe not as much in America, but in places like Africa and Europe. And if you want to claim to be a world citizen, which I think a lot of people do, because a lot of people recognize that borders are necessary because the logistics of history, but that ultimately we're all on the same planet and it's all one big stage. But Russia and Ukraine are a bigger part of this stage than people realize. They're the numbers 3 and 4 exporters of wheat globally, and we want them to be able to put their resources into feeding the world and not fighting each other over territory, which I can't believe we're still doing that, but hey, here we are in 2026. I can believe it. It's just a shitty part of being a human being, you know. But at the same time that Ukraine is making big wins, while Russia is kind of extending itself to give material support to Iran with the drones and intelligence, They're also arming up for a spring summer assault with 100,000 roughly foot soldiers, and they're cranking out like 20,000 drones a day. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and if the Ukrainians can hold their homeland. So yeah, in summary, we're looking at a war that's implications go much past the price at the pump, which I think is a price that Americans can't afford, even though we're getting hit with inflation because, again, crony capitalism, and we have a government that's cutting material support like benefits and healthcare and whatever to its citizens to give tax cuts to the rich, which, yes, that's all a real thing. We're not a perfect country, but we are the strongest country that has more than one story to it. And we need to value that if you like your life of being able to comment whatever you want and be whoever you want. Peace.